Hey everyone, Pocky here, and I've been playing this new auto battler, Backpack Battles, and the name might be deceiving, but it's really good. So if you haven't tried it, you should try it out. It's kind of like Super Auto Pets on steroids, but for a lot of people getting into the game right now, I figured I'd do a quick guide on some of the recipes. Now, when you start playing, the recipe sheet that you can find in the bottom right while you're playing will be all blacked out. But once you build the items, they'll show up. And if you don't want to use this guide, of course, you can always use the sort of hinted, highlighted lines that'll help you build the recipes. So, our first item is the Bloodthorne, which is Hungry Blade plus Thorn Whip. So this is a very strong weapon that converts your regeneration into Vamp and Thorns, and then scales off of both of those stats. So it's a very strong scaling item into the late game, especially if you build up a lot of regen. And the difficulty is that it's pretty expensive. Hungry Blade costs 7, Thorn Whip costs 8, and then you have to spend a turn where they both have pretty high stamina cost, and you have to run both. But once you do, there's a pretty good payoff with the Bloodthorne. As for our other Vamp items, which will help you scale this weapon, there's Vampiric Gloves, which is simply Gloves of Haste plus our Blood Amulet. This is a very strong item that helps your items trigger faster on either side of it, and gives you some Vamp. The Vampiric Armor is simply Leather Armor plus Blood Amulet. Leather Armor is a little bit hard to pick up early, but this Vampiric Armor is very, very strong. So if you can build it, I would definitely recommend it. It converts 30 of your health into 60 armor at the start of the battle, and you gain 2 Vamp. And then every 3 seconds, it's also converting 10 health into 20 armor. So if you have some healing to sort of regen that health up, you're going to get a lot of armor value out of it, as well as that starting Vamp to help you regen that health. And then our last Vamp item using the Blood Amulet, not counting Goobert, is the Bloody Dagger, which is Dagger plus Blood Amulet. And this one gives you some Vamp on hit, so you can get up to 4 in a battle, which is a bit more value than like the armor, for example. But you also heal 2 per vampiric item, so whether that's Hungry Blade or Bloodthorne or these vampiric items, or there's some other natural ones in the game, you'll get some extra heal on your hits with the Bloody Dagger. You can also run this in like a Hammer Dagger build to give yourself some Vamp, and heal up on some of those strategies. Now, continuing with daggers, there's 2 more daggers that you can build. The Poison Dagger, which is Dagger plus Pestilence Flask, the Poison Potion. And simply that inflicts 2 poison per hit, and then like all the other daggers, also triggers an extra attack on stun. And then we also have the Spectral Dagger, which is Dagger plus Mana Orb, which will use a mana to directly attack someone's health with plus 7 damage. So this is the strongest dagger in like a Hammer Dagger build, and it can help bypass builds that build up a lot of armor early and just go straight for the health. As for our other mana items, we have Manathirst, which is that Hungry Blade that we saw in Bloodthorne, combining with a Mana Orb. And this is a nice item that actually helps you gain mana for certain builds that need mana, as it gives you 1 mana on hit. And then if you have at least 10, you'll steal 2 life instead. And when you use 20 mana, you'll steal 12 life. So a nice combo with those mana heavy builds, as it can help you build it up and have a little bit of extra, Vamp with that life steal. And then you have the Magic Staff with that Broom and a Mana Orb that is one of the strongest weapons in the game. It might not seem like it, since it uses the Broom, but when you combine it with that Mana Orb, it uses 3 mana to deal 6 additional damage, and you actually scale off of it. So every time you hit, you get more and more damage. So it scales with a lot of mana if you have mana generation, and then attack speed. as long as you can continue to support, continuing to attack with it. It will scale to quite great heights. And then we have 2 staffs that actually use that magic staff as a base component. One being the Critwood Staff, which is the magic staff plus Acorn Collar, which uses mana to deal 7 additional damage. And for the next 1 second, all your attacks are critical. This is obviously only available on the Ranger, who has exclusive access to that Acorn Collar. It's pretty strong, but in most instances, I would say it is weaker than the magic staff because it doesn't scale that base damage. And normally on Ranger, you can build up your crit chance pretty high on its own. But it can be strong, and it can be strong early, and you can definitely build around it, especially with other items, because it can make all your attacks critical, not just for this specific item. So if you're running multiple weapons, it can be very good. And then, of course, a Reaper exclusive is the Staff of Unhealing, who has the Reaper exclusive Demonic Flask compared with the Magic Staff. And this item, every 1.8 seconds, as you can see, heals for 10, and it uses 5 mana to heal for an extra 4. And for 2 seconds, your healing also deals damage. So if you have a very heal-oriented build, this can do a lot of damage. As for that Demonic Flask, we also can make the Darksaber, which is, the opposite of the lightsaber. And so it uses that lightsaber as the base component with the Demonic Flask. And it deals extra damage for each debuff on your opponent. And then on attack, it uses 1 mana to inflict a blind. So it scales off of that blind, similar to lightsaber, but it's a bit easier to get that scaling by using mana to inflict a blind. And then, of course, Reaper in general inflicts a lot of debuffs, whether it's blind or poison, or even chill at times. As for kind of our sort of base units, we have the Hero Sword, which is very popular because it buffs all weapons around it with a wooden sword and 2 whetstones. And then from the Hero Sword, you can build 2 better swords. The Hero Sword with 2 Gloves of Haste will make the Falcon Blade, which attacks twice, which is very strong in and of itself. And then it also provides a aura buff around it to make all items trigger 35% faster, which is very strong. In essence, it's sort of like if you had a Vampiric Gloves affecting everything around it rather than just the 2 slots on the side. So really, really strong if you can get that that Falcon Blade up. Or you can create the Hero Longsword, which is the Hero Sword plus 2 more whetstones, which will just increase that aura of damage and then also extend it an extra slot. So it's a 3-slot weapon that provides 4 damage to adjacent weapons. And then if you do happen to make that Falcon Blade and Hero Longsword, you can combine those 2 Crossblades, which is a very, very top tier weapon. That buffs 2 items or weapons. 1 weapon above will get plus 10 damage. So strong base damage boost. And then at the tip of the Falcon Blade, right here, you will have an item that triggers 60% faster, which can be a weapon or any other item that has a trigger. And then the biggest part of the Crossblades is that itself just damages on hit, both in attack speed and damage. So on hit, it'll gain 1 damage and trigger 5% faster. So very, very, very strong weapon. Highly recommend trying to go for it, although it is kind of hard and you do kind of have to force it from the beginning. Little easier on Ranger, but definitely viable on Ranger or Reaper. And then, of course, for our other weapons, we have Eggscalibur, which uses the pan plus a heroic potion, of course. A nice call out to Eggscalibur. But this is great for a food build. It has a much bigger, so it grows, and it has more slots surrounding it to scale damage from food, and then 1 slot right here, above the pan, where you would expect a food item triggers 100% faster. So you can use that to proc a blueberry if you're running something, if you want to create a lot of mana gen or luck, or a pineapple if you're doing a thorns build. It's a pretty strong weapon. It falls off a little late because it doesn't have as much scaling, but it can be very strong in the early and mid game. And then we have the Ruby Chonk, which is only available on Reaper now, as you need that Hollow Fire Lizard, which uses the deck of cards, which is a Reaper exclusive item. But if you can get a Ruby Whelp along with that Hollow Fire Lizard, and the Hollow Fire Lizard does not need to be active, so you don't need to have it connected to the deck of cards, although it's a very strong card, so definitely would recommend using it in a deck of cards filled. But if you pair it with that Ruby Whelp, you will get the Ruby Chonk, which gains heat on hit. Heat basically is a stacking attack speed, or I should say item trigger modifier, that will trigger all your items across the board 2% faster per stack. And so on hit, it gains 1 heat, which will continue to scale. And then when you have at least 10, has a 30% chance to stun your opponent for 0.5 seconds. So if you can pair a few of these Ruby Chonks together, you can be stunning your opponent a ton and build up that heat very, very quickly. So it's a bit hard to get a lot of them, but if you can get 2 or 3 of them going. It's very, very, very strong. As for some of our other items, we have Thorns builds, which can use Claws of Attack. These scale their attack speed based on your Thorns. And after 5 hits, you gain an Empower, which scales damage of all your weapons by 1. So really nice to run with Bloodthorne, and then a lot of Thorns. And then you can also scale up the damage. If you scale up the damage with something like a lamp, you can be hitting very heavily, very quickly if you have a nice number of Thorns up. And then one of the ways to build up Thorns is with the Spiked Shield, which is that Walrus Tusk plus a Wooden Buckler, which gives you a Thorns at the start of the battle, plus every time you gain 20 armor, you gain 1 Thorns, and then on attack, from a melee attack, you gain 1 armor. Now, this isn't the best item for building up armor, so it's nice to pair it with another Wooden Buckler or Shield, but it will help you build up those Thorns. If you can run a couple of them, it's kind of nice, because they'll scale up a little faster, and they can support your Claws of Attack and Bloodthorne or Thorn Whip. We have the Lucky Piggy, which is a Ranger exclusive. The Piggy Bank plus 2 Lucky Clovers. It no longer can be broken by hammer, so you don't have to worry about that. And one of the effects is that chance-based effects of the star item, which is the one directly in front of our Lucky Piggy, are 20% more likely to trigger. So you can use this on any chance-based effects, including the Hungering Arrow or the Hammer, which is a nice combo if you are running a lot of pigs. You can use that hammer and use that chance-based effect to increase the chance of a stun. You can use it on a buckler to change the chance of, or to increase the odds of gaining that armor. So a really nice item, and it'll, of course, still give you those inherent traits of 2 Lucky Clovers, giving you 2 luck at the start of battle, as well as 1 gold in each shop phase. We have our potions, which are pretty easy and just increased stats for all of them. For the strong health potion, you'll need 2 healing herbs to pair with the health potion. It will give you 2 regen when you hit below 50% and cleanse for 4 poison. Mostly a nice way to consolidate your healing herbs into that health potion if you get the opportunity. The strong stone skin potion will use that stone skin potion with 2 stones, and will mean that once you have 20 armor, you'll convert 15 health to 35 armor and gain 3 spikes for 3 seconds. So nice to run in a Thorns build and especially if you're building up that armor. So you'll want, a couple bucklers and spike shields and a strong stone skin potion for your thorns build to get those spikes up for a bit and scale your claws, scale your thorn whip and bloodthorn, etc. And then our last potion is the strong heroic potion. When you have no stamina left, regen for stamina. And you gain 1 in power and 1 regen. So a bit better than the banana. And of course the recipe is the heroic potion plus the banana. And then our last set of recipes are for the Gooberts. Super fun to play, pretty strong as well. The 5 Gooberts you can make from that base Goobert are Light Goobert, which is the Goobert plus the lightsaber, and goes for additional heal as well as 5 blind for 5 seconds. So you can use this with brooms or lightsabers, which scale off of blind. You can make a Steel Goobert with the Hero Sword, which scales the weapons on top and below it after the activations on the side slots, as well as giving you 20 armor per activation. Poison Goobert is 2 Fly Agarics. So this is exclusive to Reaper, which Fly Agaric is a Reaper exclusive item, but it will inflict 3 poison and cleanse 2. So it's a bit stronger against some of those mirror matchers with poison, but doesn't provide as much healing if your opponent doesn't have poison compared to some of the other Gooberts. And then Blood Goobert is our Blood Amulet plus Goobert. We'll give you 2 Vamp at the start, and when your starred items activate 6 times, you steal 8 plus your Vamp life. So if you have a few other Vampiric items, this will steal even more life and can be very strong in terms of dealing damage while healing at the same time. Now, say you are able to combine all these Gooberts plus a regular Goobert, you will get the Rainbow Goobert Omega Ooze Prime Slime, featuring Goobert, Poison Goobert, Light Goobert, Steel Goobert, and Blood Goobert. And this is an Exodia item for sure. If you get to this stage, you are pretty likely, not guaranteed, but pretty likely to be winning out, as the start items all around are Exodia Goobert. When they activate 6 times, you heal for 20, gain 20 armor, 2 Vamp, inflict 4 blind, 4 poison, and give any weapons around it 4 damage. Very, very strong. Very hard to get, but well worth it, and I encourage you to try it out if you get the chance to fill out your full recipe book here to make sure you get that Rainbow Goobert Omega Ooze Prime Slime. Anyways, I hope this recipe guide was helpful. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to the channel, and be sure to check out my Twitch, Pocky Plays, where we play backpack battles as well as many other auto battlers and games at a high level. Thanks for watching, and of course, as always, peace.